I truly appreciate it. She's actually a Zimbabwean, but she was not born. Okay. On today's episode of the show, Ashleigh and I talk about. What do we talk about? I always do that. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the. No, not now. Dog. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Creators Connect series. My name is Luca, but you can call me that camera guy. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for your love and support. I truly appreciate it. And if you are new here, please do consider subscribing if you like this video. On today's episode of the show, we are joined by someone who's very, very passionate about fashion, very, very passionate about modeling. The name is Ashleigh Mabaire. She's based here in South Africa, Johannesburg. She's actually a Zimbabwean, but she grew up in South Africa. Now in the show, Ashleigh and I talk about two very big things. The biggest people who've had an influence in her creative journey and her biggest creative fear. It's very interesting, that one. So just sit back, relax, and let's connect with Ashleigh. So much, Ashleigh, for being here.
Pleasure.
Taking time out of your schedule to sit down and chat with me about your creativity and all those things.
No
it's
problem.
Cool. And I remember we had a chat, before this last week, right? It was last week.
Yeah.
And you you asked me what your creative space was, and I was like, that's not how that works. That's not how that works. So I want to ask you to tell me about yourself, not particularly what the creative space you're in, but who is Ashleigh Mabaire and what is she all about?
Okay. Okay, it's a bit difficult to explain, but Ashleigh is about almost everything. Like, I'm just everywhere. I like fashion, I like computers, I like cooking, I like dancing, working out. I'm just everywhere. I'm a social butterfly. I love being with people, socializing.
Yeah.
Yes. I really love being around people, communicating, just getting to have a proper conversation with someone and just enjoy their presence, So yeah, I'm just about a lot of things.
You're about a lot of things. It's very interesting that you mentioned that you're into computers as well, which is something that you're studying. You're studying IT, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm a bit confused, or help me understand here. Why did you choose to study IT when you are invested in a lot of creative things? And it's something a lot of people ask me as well. They're like, Luca, why are you studying business when you're all into this creative thing and you're decent at it? Why didn't you choose to study something creative? So why did you choose IT as opposed to studying fashion or anything?
Okay. So from, let me say, high school. So unfortunately, our school didn't have CAT or IT as a subject, but we did have as an extramural. So we did it after school. So when I joined the extramural, it was just something I enjoyed. I love the space. I love the fact that, you get to think outside the box, because most of the time you had to come up with your own solution,
Yeah.
So when I was thinking of a career field for, I think this was in grade 10. So that's when they start, telling you, you need to start thinking of what you want to do when you leave high school.
Yeah.
So I always, every time I thought of what to study, I always went back to computer science. And it's just something I always, I've always wanted to do it. And I thought maybe, because also I really am into fashion, but then I thought maybe I should start with something, let me say, stable, if I can say that. So yeah, something stable. And I'm like, okay, fine, let me do computer science and then, see where the rest takes me. So yeah.
Okay, so in that case, is studying fashion an option? Are you going to study fashion, or you feel like, when it comes to fashion and these more direct creative things, you sort of just learn it as you go? Do you plan on studying it, or what's the plan?
I haven't really planned on studying it. Okay. But I want to be in the field. So with modeling, I really want to be in that field. But I've never actually considered studying going to school to study fashion, but I want to be in the field like as a model,
Okay. So
Yeah.
in your perspective,
Mm.
do you think that it's necessary for someone to go to a formal school, either for modeling or for fashion, to be successful, or they can do it without the formal educational system to be successful?
Always, I think it's a bit of both, right?
Okay.
Because there's some people who they just so creative, and they can put themselves out there, and like the organizations, companies, and other people will approach them to work with them. But
Okay.
it's also good for you to go to school and like actually study it, because you then have like the technicalities, if that's the word,
Mhm.
where okay, this is how this works, So yeah, it's a bit of both. There's some people who can make it without any education, and you can actually go out there. But I feel like also at some point someone would want you to actually study it, or like have some sort of degree, if I can say, or
Yeah.
some form of training, especially with like being a model. You
Yeah.
can really do freelancing, but at some point you need to be trained, how to, your attitude when you're on set, like how to be, you need to have a connection with the photographer as well. You can't just be doing your own things. So you need to be trained, I think. Also walking, the poses, you can teach yourself, but at some point it would be ideal to, have some professional training as well.
Yeah, I like what you said. It's a little bit of both. There's a lot of things that we learn only out of experience. Like no matter how much people try to teach us. I remember growing up just generally being a kid and being told, don't do ABCD, and you're like, but what are you talking about, mom? And then you do it, and then you learn. You're like, oh flip, I shouldn't have done that. So I definitely think some things are learned through experience, but I believe exactly like what you said. Some things also you just need some little bit of guidance, some professional guidance as well sometimes. And
yes,
you mentioned that you are very much into modeling, and you love it, and
I love it too.
Which aspect of modeling are you passionate about? And I know the field is quite big, and it stretches from runway and fashion shows and things like that, or like being on TV and doing ads and things like that. So what aspect of modeling are you most into, and why?
Okay, so I'm split in between two of them, right? So like fashion show, runway. That's because in high school I used to do, so they used to have an annual fashion show, and I was part of that. And that experience is just the best, it was, I don't even know how to explain it, but it's just so lovely, behind like backstage, getting dressed, preparing. And then when you're on the ramp and you're walking down and just looking down on the crowd, and you just, it's just, I love it. And
the
then also, like, yes, it really is. You just enjoy yourself there. And then the second one is like commercials, like, being on TV. I haven't actually done that, like, personally. But when I see, like, when I'm watching TV and I see these models and I see the ads on TV, on the billboards and whatnot, I look at it and I'm just like, wow, I want to be there one day. Yeah, I really do, It seems fun and exciting.
That sounds pretty cool. Which brand, or you don't have any maybe, but if you do, which brand would you most like to work with in terms of being on TV?
I would love to work with Dark and Lovely, like Dark the hair.
Okay.
Yes. Oh, that is my dream. Okay. I just think. Okay, so I do try to take care of my hair very well, but being a model for them would just be, the top notch. I'd love that.
I like that. They heard it here first. So I can't wait for you to get your first gig with Dark and Lovely, and I'll be like, oh, she said it. I knew this was gonna happen. She definitely said it.
Okay, I pray that happens.
What do you value most about being a creative person? What's the most valuable thing that comes out for you when you get creative, or just when you are in a creative space?
So for me personally, I really think like being unique, exploring boundaries, doing things that necessarily isn't out there, just getting into your own space, coming up with something that when you look at it and you like give it out or whatever, you're so proud of yourself and you be like, I did that, and it's just something that you whenever you think of what you've done, that's just one thing that keeps popping, I did that. I was creative. I thought of that idea. I just, being unique and being proud as well.
It's actually quite a beautiful thing that you mentioned being unique, because I think we now live in a world. I mean, we've always lived in a world that's got so much rules and laws to live by. So we are governed by so much, and like every single thing we do almost is like, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do this, you need to do that. We're sort of like told, quote unquote, how to live. But when you get into a creative space, you are your own person. You're not bound by any laws. You're not bound by any laws. It's how you want to express that creativity, and that's literally your limit. Your mind is your limit, which is such a beautiful thing when you think about it. Being free,
that is true.
Express yourself to whatever extent. I think for me personally, what I value most about being in a creative space is definitely being able to meet people. Because what I mostly do is meet people, but there's so much value. I find so much value in being able to build a network and being able to learn from other people. And
exactly, like everyone has different experience.
Exactly, everybody's got a different view. I mean, some of these questions I'm asking you, I've asked them over 10-15 times, but I promise you get a different answer every single time. You get a different answer every single time. So it's interesting to dig deep into someone's mind and like hear what they think about a particular topic, and it's very enlightening sometimes. It's very, very enlightening. Okay, so my next question is, who has had the biggest influence on your creativity? Like, who in your life, whether it's someone you know directly or someone you don't know, but like, someone who doesn't know you or someone you know directly, who has influenced your creativity and inspired you to pursue this, creative thing?
Okay, so I'd say my mom and my sister for 2 reasons.
Okay.
So the fashion side, the computer side, my mom really has played like a big role in like me wanting to pursue these things that I want to do. And then with the modeling side, my sister, who literally takes almost every picture of mine I ever had. She really takes all my pictures, and just getting to work with her and just seeing her passion for photography and everything, that really inspires me, and like it inspires me to be a better model, because I need to look good for her. So they've really had a big influence on me. So, and then my mom as well, because she's a part-time fashion designer.
Wow. So all your influence is from family, which is actually pretty cool.
Yes.
To think about. So your mom is a part-time fashion designer. Is it something that you would ever consider getting into, since you see so much of it?
I think if I had the time.
If you had the time.
Yeah, if I had the time, I definitely would.
Okay.
But it just seems like it's very time consuming. So if I have many things to do, then I don't think I have the time to, really put my full effort into it. But if I had ample time to do it, then I definitely would. Because you need to have, the time to put the details, organize everything, make sure it looks right. Yeah,
I mean, speaking of time, you mentioned that you're studying IT, but you also have this creative modeling, fashion thing that you're into. And for a lot of people that I've sat down with and spoken to, they're studying one thing, but behind the scenes, they're sort of working on something creative as well. So they're like, you know what I'm really passionate about is DJing, or what I'm really passionate about is cooking. But right now I'm studying business, or I'm studying engineering. And engineering or business isn't what I want to do. What I'm passionate about is, this creative thing. So 2 questions for you. The first question is, you are passionate about both IT and modeling. Like, you love
both.
And it's not equally. Like you're not being forced to do IT or anything like that.
No. Exactly. I want to do it.
You definitely want to do it, which is beautiful, which is amazing. But how are you able to strike a balance between giving enough time to IT and school, and also giving enough time to your modeling career and your creative career, and ensuring that you're both growing at almost an equal rate and you're not forgetting the other one? You know what I mean? Get what I mean? Finding that balance. How do you do that? How do you portion your time, and how do you strike that balance?
Okay, so both are very time consuming. But if you really plan, I think planning is something that you really need to do. So with the modeling, if you have to do like photo shoots and whatnot, you can always set time aside on like Saturday or Sunday and try to do as many photo shoots in many different outfits. Try to do a lot in like a short space of time. And then because of school, it's Monday to Friday. Then during school, I take care of like the school stuff, the IT stuff. But then IT is something that you need to constantly be practicing as well. So then during the weekend, you also need to put a bit of time, for, practicing your code, trying different things, because you can't really be focused on only what you learn. You need to keep developing yourself as well, because they don't teach you everything. You need to also put in the effort to do your own research and So it's about planning and also just going with the flow, because sometimes when you overplan, then you don't get anything done because you're too busy, planning. So
that is actually quite true. Sometimes it's good to go with the flow, the spur of the moment. I know with creativity, you can definitely plan, but sometimes something comes up, you get a feeling or you get an idea when you're in a space where it's not probably the right time to be creative, but you get an idea and you're like, if I don't do this right now, if I don't put this on paper, or if I don't, record this, I will probably miss this moment, So sometimes it's good to go with what you're feeling, and trust that that's definitely the right time to do it. And you share a lot of your work on Instagram, a lot of your fashion stuff, your outfits, which are pretty cool.
Mostly fashion. I think only fashion.
If I should say, they're pretty cool outfits. Like
thank you.
You're pretty talented. You're actually really, really talented, which is super cool. I was speaking to a friend of mine the other day, and she is into this makeup thing, right? And she did this makeup thing, and she posted it on Instagram, and it got like so many views on Instagram. But when I was looking at it, it was like such a positive thing. I was like, okay, wow, cool. So many views. But when I spoke to her about it, she's like, well, in as much as I got so many views and so many people saw it, I did realize that it came with some negative comments as well. So the more people saw it, the more it gave people a platform to criticize her work and criticize her as an individual. Do you ever fear anything like that? Like you get this cool outfit and you get all the poses right, and your sister takes the photos and you upload them, and then people just don't like it. Do you ever fear that happening?
Yes, I do. But then I really try not to let that stop me, You can't be not doing things because of you fear what people will say. There's so many people in the world that obviously not everyone will like you. They won't like your sense of style or like your makeup or anything like that. But you can't be restricting or limiting yourself because of other people. Because you limit yourself, but then life goes on. And if you're going to be restricting yourself because of others, then in a way it's like your own loss. So there will always be people who don't like what you do, who don't like your clothes, who just don't like you in general, because you can't buy this with everyone. So
that's actually quite true. And then my next question would be, in and amongst being, so your answer to that was, there's definitely a little bit of a fear, but you shouldn't be, governed by what people think or people's opinion on you or on your creativity. Do you have any creative fear? Just any creative fear in general? Like when you think about it, you're like, I hope this doesn't happen to me creatively, whether influenced by other people or just a personal thing internally.
Okay. So with modeling, right? My biggest fear, especially with like runway modeling, is like falling, like tripping. That is like my biggest fear. It really is my biggest fear.
That is actually,
and it almost happened. Like I was this close. The one fashion
real?
show. I was wearing this like I was wearing this golden dress that had like organza, right? So the dress was long. So as I'm walking down the ramp, so the plan was the girl comes from one side and then the guy comes and then you meet and then walk down together. So as I'm walking, I accidentally stepped on the dress. So I was like, whoa. And thank the Lord, my partner was already there. So like I just held on to him. And then I didn't actually like fall.
Dude.
Yeah.
Close
I was
one.
so scared.
That's a close.
I was really scared.
I think that is actually quite the biggest fear now that I think about
Yeah.
it. Because
Yeah.
if you're like on set and you're recording something, it can always be like edited out, so it's like cool.
Exactly.
So it's only the camera guys and the director that see it. But I mean, when you're live on the runway and there's like 100, 200 people watching you model and then you trip, yeah, it's pretty much set in stone. You know what I mean? That's pretty much set in stone. So that's
Definitely.
that's a real fear, but it's also quite a funny fear. I mean, out of everything else you could have feared happening, your biggest fear is
That is the one thing.
that is actually quite funny. Okay, so I went through some of your social media networks, and it's like no secret that you are a firm believer of God, right?
Yes.
And you're also passionate about that. My question is, how much of your creativity and your creative journey is influenced and governed by God, and which parts are? And I know for me,
so
to just make the question a little bit more easy to understand, is that I've had situations where people have come to me and they're like, yo, bro, can you check out such and such a content creator? And I'm like, oh, cool. And then I check them out. And then for me, in terms of, say it was a musician, for example, in terms of the music that they were singing, it wasn't something that went with what I believed in as a Christian, So I had to be like, you know what, they're talented, and I mean they deserve that in terms of their lyricism and the way they flow or whatever, but they aren't portraying what I want to have be associated with me. You get what I mean? So
yes,
in that case, my belief in God definitely governs how I choose who to interview and who not to interview. And I think
yes.
So that's the question. How much of God influences your creative journey and which parts?
Okay, so I'd say like all parts, right? Because everything I do is so like for him, in a sense, not directly, sometimes indirectly. But I haven't been in a situation where maybe because I haven't really like worked with many brands or like companies, that I haven't really been in a situation where I like had to stop myself because of such things,
Yeah.
But I'd say it's literally everything, I don't know how to explain it, but yeah, if it's not something that I know God would want me to be doing, then I wouldn't.
Then you're not gonna be doing
yeah.
But it's I mean, it's very difficult, and I think it's something that's not easy, because we definitely now live in a world where a lot of what God doesn't want is a lot of what's
happening,
getting the most attention.
The trending thing.
It's what's trending. You know what I mean? So you now stand in a position where it's very easy to create content and have people either not give it attention at all because it's not what's trending, or actually look at it
exactly.
Like, you're stupid for creating that kind of content in this point in time.
Yeah, I'd say especially with like clothing, like the clothes that are out there.
Yeah. I mean, it puts you in a very tough spot. Because it's literally your entire creative journey. But I think if at least one person is able to stand up for what's right, and then I'm 100% sure that there will be people who will follow. So if we can hold
and someone
out,
is always watching.
Someone's always watching, So if we can hold out and be like, you know what, no matter what trends, I'm still gonna do it. At least for that one person who can see this. At least for that one person who's gonna be inspired by it. I'm still gonna do it. But I think ultimately for God,
yes,
for the glorification of God's name, which is actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, you're a super young individual. You've just like getting your life together, which is super cool, and getting this creative thing rolling. But do you feel like there are things that could possibly change in our current societal system and our current communities that could help younger people be able to express themselves a lot better? Do you think that the system that we have now is fine? Because I think you also mentioned that things like IT you didn't have in your direct school curriculum, and it was sort of like an after thing. And I know I've spoken to a lot of people as well, and they're like, yo, dude, in my high school, I had no idea what photography was. I started knowing about photography after, or in my high school, we didn't have dance. Dance wasn't an option for kids. And there's a lot of things like that. So do you feel like the current system is fine? If you want to be creative, go find it outside the normal school system, or do you think that we need more options and more opportunities for kids to be able to express themselves outside the normal educational system?
I definitely think like there should be more opportunities.
Yeah.
And the way the world is going, I think it's like good. Because when you think about it, most people who are in like, let's say a specific, so let's say photography.
Yeah.
They have the passion, they have the drive, they enjoy it. And the way the system is really like emphasizing entrepreneurship and, starting your own business.
Yeah.
Most people are taking what they're passionate about and they're starting their own businesses. So they'll start a photography school, for example. And with such opportunities, many kids would, like, let's say you say the one person, they didn't have photography at school or they didn't really know about it. When that person sees such an opportunity, they can easily just go there, get to understand what it's all about. And so same thing with dance, even modeling. So like if I were, let's say, a professional model, then I would then start my own like agency or training academy, and then more people would know about it. So I think there's more that can be done, but there is something being done, so that's good.
Okay, so you actually mentioned something else that's very interesting. You're like, now people are taking what used to be just a hobby and turning it into a business. So cooking is something that I enjoy, but now I want to cook and in bulk, or cook a lot and charge people for it, or dancing is something that I like to do in my spare time, but now I want to open a dance class or a dance school and start charging people to teach.
Yes.
So this aspect of having a hobby and then now turning it into a business, how crucial do you think it is for us also to be educated on how to run a business?
I think it's very important because think about it. If you are very passionate about photography, right, and you start your own business, but you don't have you don't really understand the fundamentals on like running, like the finance side, the basics, then I don't think the business would be that successful. And like if you had it, then you'd know, okay, this is how I should do my finances to make sure like, I'm not going to go into debt, or this is how I should treat. Okay, that's a bit like obvious, how to treat your clients, but there's some things you need to be taught.
Yeah. And I think you mentioned it already. There's some stuff that just needs a little bit of professional guidance.
Exactly.
It's easy to like in your head be like, I mean, of course, treat your customers right, but like, how do you treat your customers right? How do you speak to your customers? How do you conduct yourself? How do you have conflict between customers or conflict between employees and things like that? And it's not. Sometimes you have to learn it in the heat of the moment when a specific situation happens. But sometimes it's always good to be someone who has planned for it and are ready for it through being taught by some sort of profession. So I definitely value business schools and business degrees in that they allow creatives to just not be a creative, but also be an entrepreneur of sorts, and allows them to expand just
exactly. You're making a living.
More. You're making a living. Okay, this is my last question, or one of my last questions before we wrap it up.
Okay.
So thank you so much again for being
here. All right.
It's been super cool. It feels so short. It feels so short. It feels like we've been talking for 5 minutes. But it's been almost like 30 minutes, which is crazy. My question is, do you think that creative people deserve more respect? I mean, it's a very risky question. It's a very controversial question. But I think I've had so many people come to me, right, and ask for and we were actually talking about it, me and you, the other day. We were talking about how this one photographer is just charging ridiculous for what he's delivering. We're like, how does that even make sense? So it happens a lot to not just photographers, but any kind of creative in general. You get there and you ask for a quote, and the person is like, you know what, I'm charging so much for this much. And people always look at content creators and creative people first and say, that's too expensive, can we please negotiate?
Yes.
So I definitely do feel like it's still taken more of just a hobby or someone with this skill that anyone could have, and less of an actual job and an actual talent and an actual time that someone is putting in to deliver real work. So do you feel like creative people deserve more respect? Have you ever felt like that as well? That, you know what, we're not taken as seriously as we probably should be.
Yes, definitely. So like there's this, I don't know what it is, but when you tell someone new, like let's say studying something that's not the norm, so like being a doctor or something like that, people automatically think it's something small. So like being a photographer, like they don't really take you seriously. Of which I don't think people understand that if you have a photography business, that's what you do. Like that's your source of income, or side income, or whatever it is. So if people actually like respected, the work people, and it takes a lot of time, guys. It really does take a lot of time. And the behind the scenes is often overlooked, They're just like, you're just taking pictures, why charge so much? But then there's so many things behind the scenes. And we get it, like, not everyone has the money at that time or whatnot. But I think they should be given more respect on like what they're doing,
I definitely do feel like it. It's definitely a recurring topic in most of my interviews. But it's very interesting for me just to hear other people's minds and perspectives on it. It's definitely like what you're saying. There's not much behind the scenes that we see or that people are allowed to see. I mean, with a doctor, you can very clearly walk into a theater and see him, operating on someone, and you're like, okay, dang, this is real. But very rarely can you just like walk in to someone's creative studio and sit there and just watch him edit. It's such a boring process to watch. It's such a boring process to do, but it's such a boring process to watch as well. But there's a lot of work that goes into him.
But the results, though.
Planning for the location, and researching like outfits, researching concepts. There's a lot that goes in. But like you said, the results are like absolutely amazing. But I think I just hope and pray that with time we are able, just all of us, to take creative people and their creative businesses as just
and just support locals.
Exactly, just take it for what it is, man. No one is charged by it. I mean, of course we complain and we're like, oh, this doctor is expensive or this specialist is expensive, but no one's like, you're a doc, can we talk about negotiating this price? No one ever does that.
Exactly.
Like, you don't walk into Spa and you pick up a Fanta and you go to the till and you're like, yo, can I get 5 rand? Like, no one does it. You get the price that's there and you deal with it.
Exactly.
That's what's there. So I think I hope that with time, as we grow and as we get more creators out there, we can start to understand that it may have started as a hobby, and it could be a hobby, but I mean, this guy's putting in real work, this girl's putting in
exactly
work, and they need to be paid what
people start to see the value of it.
I hope so. I definitely hope so. But thank you so much.
But I'm sure
Ashleigh.
they will, though.
I hope they will. But Thank you so much, Ashleigh, for sitting down with me and chatting to me. Again, it feels really short.
It's a pleasure.
It feels really short.
It really does.
But what we can do is that we'll wait and pray earnestly that you can get your dark and lovely gig very soon.
Yes, I'll be waiting as well.
And when you do, we'll bring you back onto the show and you can have a dark and lovely special, and we can just talk about everything that happened on set.
Yes, that would be lovely.
Yeah. Lovely. That would be lovely. Pun intended.
Yeah.
Pun intended.
Yeah.
But thank you so much. Appreciate it. I wish you all the best with your schooling work, with IT, and I also wish you all the best as you continually chase your creative journey.
Thank you very much. All the best to you too as well, eh?
Thank you so much.